Hello, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, Tejas. Good morning.
First of all, thank you for your time. And I'm glad that we are able to record this for the turnaround table. And I've been eagerly looking forward to having this conversation with you. And I'm glad that we could do it today. Uh,
Same here, Tejas. Same here.
so, shall we get started?
Oh, yes. Let's start.
Podcast basically revolves around the insolvency framework, the turnaround, restructuring, and also some parts I want to look for having shows focusing on the corporate laws and the corporate governance aspects as well.
Yeah.
So for today's topic, effective strategies and resolution for an effective turnaround. So, to start with, I wanted to understand like in the insolvency framework in India has undergone a lot of changes. I wanted to understand from you, according to you, what has been the main significant change in the IBC 2016 from its enactment.
I think since the enactment, like if I talk about the number of changes that have happened, there have been many, and part of the reasons that there have been many changes have been, how the this code has been new. This whole concept of insolvency. I think even when we talked about, our studies or when we see practical life, I don't think anyone ever in my lifetime, I never heard of anyone going insolvent or bankrupt in India. We always used to, see Chapter 11 bankruptcies in the US, and that was in the news, but we never had anything like in India. So whenever law is implemented, a new concept is introduced. I believe there are many things that kind of need to be talked about. I think the one of the major the most important change that happened was bringing in the provisions to bar the existing promoters from taking away the assets. And I believe that kind of changed a lot of things, because if that was not done, it would have kind of allowed a lot of promoters to make defaults and then go through the IBC process and take back their company at a lot lesser amount. The same, I think, is still happening, but it's still not happening publicly. It might be happening through one-time settlements or some kind of settlements through the ARCs, still on the back door. But those settlements then are commercial transactions. In IBC, when jointly all the creditors are taking a decision, there, of course, that changed a lot in the sense that the kind of the reputation that IBC got since then, that it is not something where you can just clean yourself up uh, without any problems. That's something that kind of changed a lot of things.
So also the focus instead of just being liquidation, it's being resolution driven. So, how far has IBC been successful in achieving resolution? Do you think there has been a success in IBC when it comes to resolution when compared to the earlier frameworks?
I think substantial change. We kind of have an experience in Surfacey where we have been taking care of 40 odd thousand cases, or we have taken care of 40 odd thousand cases since 2003. Surfacey also had a clause, or has a clause, which allows for change in management, but it was never implemented because there was lack of judicial or rather legal backing to that process. So creditor would say, okay, we will change the management, but how would you kind of introduce or do everything on the field? But now you have a transformative idea that, okay, if you're not able to pay to the creditors, or if you are yourself feeling that is as a company that, oh, I can't pay to my creditors, you go to NCLT, get an order, and suddenly somebody is in charge who is taking care of bank accounts, who's taking care of your legal processes, or taking care of your going concern. And yes, there is a transformation that is possible then. So when we come to turnarounds, and when we talk about resolutions in insolvency, now there will always be a mixed bag to it. Some have been stuck in legal process because of some legal disputes which need ironing out, and there are many others which have been solved. There are even more where the success of insolvency, they say, is in terms of how many companies did not go into insolvency and settle their dispute, settle their balance payable, and they just kind of cut down on their debt to kind of make sure that, oh, they don't see they did what happened to SRs, and what happened to Bhushans doesn't happen to them. I think that's a big fear today in larger industries or larger companies where the collateral is anyways not a very important input for the creditors to take a decision to lend. Yes.
So, and now, what has been, I think, one of the biggest introductions in IBC was the introduction of the concept of an insolvency professional who becomes a resolution professional. So, what are the main duties that a resolution professional has to in ensuring that a company gets a resolution and doesn't move to liquidation?
I think the main idea is, so everything that happens in through collaboration, whether it be larger deals, whether it be business deals. I think resolutions also happen through collaboration. An insolvency professional who sits in his own office, doesn't interact with anyone, will perhaps get a lot fewer options for his creditors as compared to that resolution professional who is in conversation with the promoters, understanding how the company can be run most efficiently, also kind of understanding how the uh, so I'll just say that again. So the resolution professional has this. Yes, I'm back. Sorry for that break. So I was saying. Yes. So I was saying that the insolvency professional is supposed to collaborate with all the stakeholders. The stakeholders will be creditors. The creditors need to understand what is left in the company, what is the value of the asset, and what are their options with respect to finding a resolution plan. Similarly, the promoter needs to be taken into, maybe not confidence, but the promoter also needs to cooperate. Now, there can be always two options. The promoter chooses not to cooperate, the promoter chooses to cooperate. But yes, the insolvency profession can also help the promoter see the outcomes or better outcomes in case he does cooperate. And those outcomes can benefit the promoters in other ways where they reduce their individual debt once the resolution professional finds a higher value and other matters. So this cooperation from that side is also important. Then, most of all, the collaboration or the discussion with the resolution applicants or prospective resolution applicants. So they are, of course, the people who need most confidence to kind of go ahead, submit a resolution plan because they will be investing, they will be taking the risk in future with respect to the same company. Yes, Tejas.
So, how important is for the RP to ensure that the company remains as a going concern? And what are these steps and challenges that he may come across in ensuring that the company remains as a going concern?
So, talking about my own experience with respect to keeping the company as a going concern, the largest challenge that can come to a company which is wanting to keep a going concern is if the business itself is not viable. In case the business is not viable, employees are not motivated enough. They don't, because what doesn't help is that in insolvency you don't get to really practically get to hire fresh talent. You can't really start turning around the company by inducting new employees and spending on them. The core team that continues is the team that was inherited by you as a resolution professional. We have seen some advisors coming in talking about how to kind of turn around large companies, but inherently the company's business as it was on the CRP commencement date needs to be, I would say, profitable or revenue generating or cash generating in absence of the interest cost or the installment towards the lenders. So, in case that is feasible or that is possible, then yes, we see that yes, maintaining going concern is easy. You have payments to, you have the funds to make payments regularly, and that ways things work around. But wherever this viability is absent, this viability is not there, there it becomes difficult.
So, now can we say that the
Yes.
Yeah. So, can we say that the primary objective of the resolution professional, once since from the time he's appointed, is to ensure that the company turns around?
Yes, I would say that the primary objective of any resolution professional would to kind of be that okay, the assets kind of the business kind of gets revived, whether it is with the new management, same management, and the difficulty that the company had, can you kind of be reversed or kind of be cancelled. uh, if the company is not viable, the business is not viable, the business has lost its glory. Sometimes I say that the business, sometimes I feel that the idea behind the business, or the basic premise or basic value addition that the business gives to the society, is more important than anything else. Now look at Kodak kind of just withered away because a change in technology did not help them. We see a company which we have in insolvency or later in liquidation called Samtel, used to make picture tubes. Technology changed, no longer viable. Similarly, we see somebody operating a factory out of a large land parcel. Today, that land parcel became part of the city, and the opportunity cost there was so high that today nobody would want to come in and say that okay, I will revive the industry which is supposed to be which is set up on this land. Anyone will feel no, it is not viable, because how can somebody invest so much money on that land parcel and then get lesser return out of it? So whenever promoters or companies do not change with time and they come into insolvency, I believe those should be only those cases should go into liquidation, where okay, separately the companies, whatever is left can be dealt with. And of course, it always helps to have the companies come into the insolvency process sooner. In case they come at a later stage, you can it's very little left to revive.
Yes, sir. So one question that I've been having was, does in all the corporate insolvencies, does the capital structure rely heavily on debt? Like, is it true in all the cases, or have there been any exceptions in this capital structure?
I think heavy reliance on debt is something that different companies choose based on their own understanding. Uh, I would say I've seen companies which have no debt, which have had no debt since the past 20 years. But yes, those companies see the bad side of it, where they're not able to grow beyond their own means. And I have seen companies which are so mostly startups where there's almost no debt and they purely rely on funding from equity, PE investors, VCs, and they kind of are investor driven, because those are companies where because where the lending does not happen. We have seen many restaurant companies that we are kind of taking care of professionally, and we see that yes, the creditors or the debt availability to them is restricted to maybe a small percentage of their overall cash flows every month, because creditors don't want to take more exposure as compared to what they kind of say that they will not fund a full construction of a restaurant per se. So that these are the nitty gritties of any such matter. Now, if I talk about mm, companies that I've seen going into insolvency, most of the companies, of course, the debt was not serviceable or not able to. Those companies were not able to service the debt, and those companies have come into insolvency. We have also seen some companies where there is no financial creditor. It is only operational creditors that have taken the company to insolvency. That has also happened. So the understanding is that the whenever there's always this time for a company where okay, is taking some risks. Either it is expanding, or it is looking at shrinking markets, and still trying to recover, still trying to make some changes to make things better. And at that point in time, the company's management might have decided that okay, we will go ahead, we will take this additional risk, we will maybe choose to pay our creditors with some delay and still try to turn it around. And that's when debt builds up. And it's all about whether at that crucial time you're able to source an investment, or you're able to make some rapid changes in your business model to turn around the business.
So, so one further, like, what would be the effective turnaround strategies, you could take anecdotes from your personal experience or any of the case studies in resolving or turning around a distressed asset or a distressed company.
So I believe first of all, if there are any disputes, then before you go ahead, get a resolution plan in order. We always try, and I think one should always try to resolve those disputes amicably before the stakeholders. That's one option. Or alternatively, you kind of give certainty to the resolution applicant. In case there is no certainty for the resolution applicant, we don't see these good resolution plans coming in. Secondly, as I said, that sometimes there are businesses where creditors understand that this business will not continue as a going concern, or the true potential of a business will not continue in case the promoters are not there in the whole scenario. So we have seen cases where promoters have been one of the resolution applicants or one of the prospective resolution applicants, and the creditors have accepted that fact that oh, this company is too small or not that size that oh, it can continue as a going concern without the promoters' involvement. So they keep the promoters' involvement, and the creditors then are also party to it. I think that is also very effective. Then, when it comes to real estate cases are very complex, and there, of course, the turnaround happens through the belief or through giving new hope to the all the people, because it's been 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, maybe for some home buyers or allottees to kind of not have had their price possession which they kind of invested their savings in. Similarly, there might be a landowner who has collaborated in good faith with a builder, believing that oh, he will get value out of his land by the development of the land. And there can be creditors, there can be financial creditors who have lent based on good belief that okay, this will kind of result into some kind of gains to them. So when all these stakeholders come together in a real estate case, they would have conflicting thought processes. The financial creditors, before the 2018 amendment, used to believe that oh, they will get everything in liquidation, so why should they find a resolution at all? Home buyers then were given in 2018 through an explanation to the financial creditors definition. They were given the status of financial creditors. It was clarified that they are also financial creditors. Then, of course, now we have since then we see those cases going into some kind of dispute where the landowner or the government agency is not supporting the entire process. So ultimately, time value of money is very important, and everyone should be a little flexible. That oh, if something has gone wrong, uh, this understanding that okay, maybe we might have had a role to play in whatever happened, or the decisions that might have been required at that earlier time were not taken, whatever the case may be. So that is what I think. There's some room for negotiation, some room for a haircut is something that becomes important. Today, the biggest challenge we find is in resolving those cases where some of the stakeholders believe that no, we want everything. We will not even give give a percentage, a small percentage, or we are not ready to take any haircut at all. With that attitude, resolutions don't happen. Then things keep on going, and then everyone suffers.
So, Section 29A has been a victim of great criticism, saying that it restricts resolution. It goes against the primary objective of the IBC, that's resolution. So, could you just like briefly explain for the audience, like briefly, what is 29A and why is it a matter of controversy?
No, as I said earlier, that when we were seeing large companies getting resolution plans and kind of getting through the resolution process, going through the resolution process, we kind of saw that a lot of opposition, a lot of people had started to say that this IBC is a creation to give discount to the large corporates for the difficulties that they have had in or rather the errors that they have committed. It is a way of washing their sins, and that is what I think has brought this amendment. And today there is the only way I believe that 29A can be changed is to allow the creditors to change it. Now, in case the creditors choose to change this process, only then I believe that there is a possibility that 29A can go. So as I was saying, that 29A presently is, of course, it's kind of mandatory. But if creditors are allowed to
So I'm
change
sorry, sir, but
29,
I think I lost the
mute.
connection in the middle. I'm sorry, I lost the connection in the middle, sir. So I
Yeah,
was
I
out of
think
the
it is
meeting.
still. I
I don't
think it
know
is
how
still
it.
getting recorded. So I was saying how the creditors may be allowed in 29A with a slight amendment to even choose to allow the company to go to the ex promoters in case they choose to do that. Now, because there's so many conditions in 29A, maybe it is permitted to creditors to choose to accept or rather understand the 29A barment or change it based on their understanding of how the company can be revived. That might allow, better processes or some better results to insolvency for a few companies where the reliance on the promoters is high, even where they are not MSMEs or they are not exempted already under 29A.
So, but the flip side to this would be that agreed that the promoters are the ones who created the situation where the company went into insolvency. So the one side of the argument is it doesn't make sense to for them to go back and take over the management, and the other part is we should focus on the resolution and not who takes over the management. Like, what's your view on this, sir?
So, as I said, the idea should be to look at the process and its impact on the entire thought process in the economy. Now, in case you kind of one way is that you say, okay, promoters are barred from a resolution plan, they will never be able to get a haircut. So, what do you see as an implication? You can say that, oh, promoters suddenly start fearing IBC and they make sure that their creditors are happy or their creditors are on the same page. And the creditors also feel that, oh, if the company goes into insolvency, the promoters will never be able to come back, and the value that we will realize from the resolution plan might be lesser as compared to what we are getting through other processes or other settlement matters. So that's one way of thinking that, oh, that process should continue. There should be some fear. The other process can be thought of is that no, it should be level playing field. We understand that our society will, I believe, not think on these lines that, oh, this is an easy way to get a haircut or reduce your debt. So the promoters might start planning insolvency. They might just, kind of have artificial losses, take money out of their company, and then go to the resolution plan, get a haircut. So if we feel that we have to choose which direction we want to go to, I think yes, the parliament has chosen the first route where they feel that no, they do not want to allow these backdoor processes where some leeway is given or haircuts are allowed to promoters. But we can always say that, oh no, we have now grown up, we have matured, and we can go to part two. And I think before we talk about 29A and talk about part two and allowing promoters to come back, we should first look at how fairly are we allowing companies which are applying under Section 10 to kind of just, dissolve themselves. Because the primary idea was never for the creditors to kind of take companies to insolvency. It was also parallelly linked to the idea that if an entrepreneur had started the business and he was failing to do the business, he was not able to kind of pay his creditors on time, the company could on its own as well go to insolvency and close itself. I don't see that happening.
So, now, what is the role of valuation when what is the role of valuation in terms of an effective turnaround, sir? What has been your experience and challenges with the aspect of valuation?
So, see, when we kind of look at many cases, about 50-60% of the cases, we don't have adequate information to kind of assess the value also, even with the help of professionals. And when professionals come in and they understand the physical status of the assets without an FAR, without other details, it becomes difficult for them to find the true value. Sometimes these machines are 30-year-old. They are kind of installed at a place. There is no means, no way for us as resolution professionals to uh, kind of get the correct, to just maybe even provide the weight of that machine to the valuer. Now, the valuer then estimates the value based on the available findings, available information, sorry. And when this valuation comes out, I believe it's one of the most important, parameters for the decision makers to think about it. Yeah, if the fair value is published in the IM, the uh, possible suitors to that organization, the PRAs, will get an idea about what the creditors might be expecting. The creditors on the other side, when they get a value, they also see that, oh, this is what is the value of the company, and they will expect credit, turnarounds based on that value. And of course, value is higher, as I said earlier, that if the companies come into the insolvency process sooner, then of course the value might be higher. As the companies go on a downward trend and they kind of enter into insolvency at a much later date, the valuation then is only on the tangible assets. The new discussion paper that has come in now is proposing to give away the idea of sale as a going concern at a liquidation, and says that okay, other modes will be available, modes of sale will be available, but liquidation of the company as a going concern and sale of the businesses as a going concern will go away. That is being done with the primary idea that liquidation value will be based on what is available from the different piecemeal assets. And when we talk about the company as a going concern, the resolution is the only way that the company can be sold as a going concern. Because presently what is happening is that many people, even those who want the company as a going concern, are waiting to for the liquidation process to start to take the company as a going concern, because they don't have enough confidence that the resolution plan will be implemented in a short time.
So now, if my understanding is right, restructuring plays a very pivotal role in resolving a company. No, so when exactly, or what kind of debt restructuring can, can resolution applicants look for, and what is the role that an RP plays in all this?
So you're talking about debt restructuring as part of the, you're talking about 230? No, I missed the first part, please.
Yes, sir. So, I just wanted to understand like how debt restructuring would help in resolving the company, and there are different terms in debt restructuring. Under which circumstances, how can debt restructuring or equity restructuring could be implemented to ensure that the company effectively turns around?
So RBI's June 2018 circular, June 2019 circular talks about how what they kind of brought in as the Sashakt scheme, which kind of allows banks or NBFCs to restructure a debt which is kind of which is delayed. So SMA 0, SMA 1, SMA 2, and then finally an NP account can be kind of restructured, and then that restructuring scheme which is provided by the RBI has various conditions. So a few conditions is that there will be a creditors committee which will take decisions wherever there are more than one creditors, and ICA will be found, intercreditor committee. Then they will kind of take a decision with respect to what is the resolution, that is, or the restructuring plan that is proposed. Then that restructuring plan will kind of have to get a rating done. So that rating has to be rating 4, RP4 rating. And then you kind of have this process where the creditors will sanction that scheme. Now, in all these cases, the the decision makers are the lenders. So this happens outside insolvency, and this also allows a lot of companies to kind of escape insolvency. It also allows a lot of banks or NBFCs to uh, escape the requirement to make provisions for NPAs wherever the restructuring happens in such a way that it allows the NBFCs or banks to get the proceeds in an orderly way as compared to not getting them at all. So we see restructurings happening wherever the banks start feeling that no, there is no other way, or the other way is too difficult. Now imagine I will give you some examples of where restructurings have been witnessed by us. So, a hydropower project, which is, let's say, 70% complete, but still not operational. Now, in that case, the banks feel that if we take it into insolvency, the idea that, okay, somebody will take it and give us value is bleak. So, they kind of go ahead with maybe a restructuring scheme in case they are able to find that value or find that adequate value coming in from the promoters. It can be upfront, it can be delayed payment, but yes, they would look forward to some way to make this asset an operational asset and then see what can be done. Then other restructuring ideas can be, real estate projects. Now, real estate projects also, banks, other stakeholders have realized that insolvency law sometimes takes a lot longer time for the process to be completed. So then they are also open to some kind of restructurings there. So wherever, the banks will always choose between SAFESI, insolvency, OTS, restructurings. They can choose between all these options to kind of revive the creditor. And that's the beauty that we have so many options available in our ecosystem, and we can choose any.
So, and we have discussed that one of the primary objectives of an RP is to ensure that the company remains as a going concern. But he also has to ensure that the operational efficiency of the company is at its peak, whatever is the maximum possible operational efficiency. So you can share your personal experiences, like how an RP can ensure that the operational efficiency of the company is at its peak, and what are the strategies that he can take, and what are the tough decisions that he may have to take.
So any operational synergies or operational efficiencies for them to be on the higher side, one would, as an RP, believe that the human resources that are attached to the company are most important. Keeping them motivated, giving them the belief that okay, the company will continue, uh, telling them that yes, the performance of the company and the going concern of the company is mostly reliant on their efforts and keeping the company going are important steps. There is always a possibility to bring in external consultants to advise those people who are working in the company already and make their efforts better. There is also possibility of bringing in experts. If the creditors approve the cost, experts can come in and experts can advise on what should be the raw material cost, what should be the cost of production, how can things become better, and that is also something that is possible. And when it comes to um, uh, maybe a manufacturing facility, then of course one can always even look at making efforts towards marketing. One can make efforts towards making sure the plant and machinery is in order, the required O&M expenses are being incurred. In case the company feels that, oh, we want to restart something that we had stopped and that requires some kind of capex, even that can be thought of during insolvency, during the resolution process. Because there is nothing which closes or nothing that can't be done. Whatever is required by the company to save costs, to kind of improve profitability, can be done during insolvency as well.
So you spoke about marketing. I have seen many insolvency professional, in fact, all the insolvency professionals that I get the privilege of interacting with, always mention marketing to be role, one of the key roles in ensuring a resolution. So I was talking to one of the senior insolvency professional, and he told that he prepares two IMs, one which fulfills the statutory requirement, and he goes over and beyond in preparing a kind of a second information memorandum, giving in more details, where the he says that statutory IM is very much limited and it does not appeal to the investors a lot at times. So he goes over and beyond, explains what the project is and explains what are the opportunities. So like what else do you think can the RP do over and beyond his duties given in the code to ensure this effective resolutions?
So the duty with respect to preparing an IM is something that, of course, is statutory. But the if you look at what the IM should continue, it does not provide any limitations as to what it can continue. It only contain. It only provides for what has to be there in the IM. And I believe that any RP can kind of make sure the IM gives complete details about those nitty-gritties that are not really captured in the provisions of the code or the regulations with respect to what the IM should have. And I think you're right in maybe the practice that is adopted by some insolvency professionals and also many of our partners is that they would give details wherever possible in the IM, so that reading the IM gives a complete picture of what the company is about to the applicant. And there I believe that um, that's about it. The IM should be detailed. But beyond the IM, now, at what stage does the IM become available to a prospective resolution applicant? The IM becomes available only after that person has already shown interest, already submitted the expression of interest against the Form G published by an RP. So, what is important is that marketing exercise that an RP does after publishing the Form G, that effort where some teaser, maybe it is a confidential teaser, maybe it doesn't have the name of the company, it can have the name of the company, what the company mostly does, two-pager, three-pager, which allows for those prospective investors who might be interested in the company to kind of submit the EOI. And we what we do is we make that teaser, we circulate it to fellow resolution professionals, because they are in touch with a lot of people who might be interested in such plans or submitting a plan. We get in touch with that database that we have created, where so many people who are kind of show interest in stressed assets on a particular circuit are in touch with us. Fellow professionals are also there. Then there is, of course, targeting. So, one can always study the industry, look at who are the competitors in the industry, or who is willing to or wanting to come into that industry, and specifically target those people, approaching them, making sure that they know that this option is available, and then they take a conscious call whether to participate or not participate. So that marketing that happens for the after publishing the Form G, or even before publishing the Form G, is very important, so that those people who might be interested in the company's resolution process can be part of it rather than seeing it from outside.
Um, and also the if I am understanding and remembering it right, there's only 15 days gap from Form G publication to submission of EOI.
Yeah.
So is
It
the
has to be,
15 days
it can
period
be, it has to be
enough,
15 years, but
or do you think it's less?
it has to be minimum is 15 days, but it can be higher. And we see that sometimes we have seen that the number of days that the COC gives is higher, believing that 15 days is very short. Also, as I said, that it is important to start marketing, maybe sometimes even before the Form G is published, start talking about what you have, start talking about the process. That's also possible.
So in your experience, acting as insolvency professional, advising your clients, and what is that one guiding principle that you think that you follow and that you suggest that everyone for all the insolvency professionals follow in ensuring an effective turnaround? So
I think one thing, if I want to say, is spending a lot of time on the matter, on understanding the matter, on engaging with professionals, engaging with stakeholders, engaging with prospective resolution applicants. I think time is a very big input that any resolution professional can put in to make sure that effective turnarounds happen. And if I were to be asked to kind of have add another point here, then of course it also matters that you kind of have an effective team to support you, because the team that kind of manages the entire insolvency process for you should have the knowledge and the idea, so that they can look into the procedural part and the insolvency professional can concentrate on building the market and collaborating with the stakeholders. That is something that is important.
So, and I just wanted to understand your views on how the role of resolution professionals has evolved till date from the enactment of IBC, and how do you see the role of resolution professionals evolving in the future? And what is it that resolution professionals should be equipped with in the coming years?
I think the role of the insolvency professional has been similar since the starting. It has not changed, but yes, many insolvency professionals have now realized that this is the role. And some have decided that they do not want to pursue this profession because they might be feeling that this is not their cup of tea. Number two, what has changed is if you look at the top 12 cases that RBI's first came to insolvency. Since then, you see the fee that an insolvency professional is taking go down sharply, and that has also affected the possibility of many professionals who were new to kind of take care of this process, because now any insolvency professional cannot be reliant on one or two cases to kind of make sure that he is able to kind of have a decent standard of living for himself. So one would need more cases, because in case you have a small case having a lakh rupee a month of income, you may not be able to take care of all the related costs and all the related issues there. So that becomes important.
So, and what is that one advice that you would give for aspiring insolvency professional like myself, and for anyone who's considering this profession? What is it that we are signing up
I think you're signing up for a very bright future. The number of insolvency professionals that we have in our country is still low. We have a lot to come into the insolvency ambit. I would imagine that the way the cyclical economy that we have and the size of the economy that we have, even if we see very low number of cases going on today, once we have more manpower at NCLT, once we have maybe some downward economic cycle that happens, I believe we will all see many more cases coming in. So the belief in insolvency, the belief in IBC with respect to providing resolutions, I believe it should now kind of now have a reverse trend with NCLT in place, with the government keen on making this process more litigation free, less dependent on the tribunal. And I believe that will also involve more power and more responsibility coming on the insolvency professional. So we are hopefully looking at a very bright future. And also, I believe we are looking forward to a future where we will not only be doing this process in India as insolvency professionals, but I strongly believe that we will have the opportunity to become global professionals, and India might become a center for taking care of many insolvency processes, in time. So the future is bright.
So one, I'm glad. I'm relieved to be honest. So one more doubt that always has been there. I have been like, of course, I still haven't been insolvency professional, and I haven't handled cases by myself. So, do you think the stigma associated with insolvency has it come down? I believe that resolution, the focus of the IBC being the resolution, is it is trying to destigma, remove the stigma associated with insolvency. How far do you think this has been achieved by IBC, sir? Or do you believe that there's still a long way to go?
I think the stigma will take some more time to go. Rather, I would say the stigma affects some people and does not affect some people. In case an individual who has had a company which has gone into insolvency now today goes to the bank and says, "See, my CIBIL is clear, everything is okay. I would want to borrow afresh." So until there is a procedural issue with respect to his CIBIL, some difficulty where some kind of a NPA tagging is still being carried by that professional, he might be able to start afresh. So that fresh start is something that everyone should understand. Now, how we see fresh start and we link it with something that has we presume today that if somebody has defaulted, he must have done something wrong. So that presumption, I believe, should not be there. We should, maybe, penalize only those promoters where they have kind of done some kind of a buffet transaction or a fraudulent transaction. And there should be a separate category perhaps for those people who have, kind of surrendered uh, on their own. And yes, then they should get another chance in life to start business, start entrepreneurship, because we cannot afford entrepreneurs. We see so many examples in the Western world where one person started with an idea, second idea, third idea, and then he made it big with the ninth idea. So many
Right.
such
Right.
examples.
I think Donald Trump filed for insolvent bankruptcy couple of times before he became. Now he is the president of the world's strongest
So
economy.
many
I
examples.
think
So
that's
many.
what we should be aiming.
Yeah, as long as a person has the energy, has can bring in faith for his creditors, for his partners, that okay, he can do a decent job, he should be allowed to do business. Why should we stop say to somebody that oh no, you're still in your 35, you're still in your 40s or 45s, and you should stop doing anything because you defaulted once? That would be not fair.
Yeah. So, like speaking of US and speaking of Donald Trump, it reminded me about Chapter 11 insolvency, and there's a unique aspect about it, the stalking horse mechanism, where before the application is filed, the promoters or the company invites a bid, and they have a base bid at place, and then they go for insolvency. And then once the auction comes, let's say the base bid is at $100 million, so any other auction should be over and above this $100 million. So do you think, but so this can be implemented only when debtor in possession model is there. But so here is my doubt, that wouldn't this work in India, and why wouldn't it work? Because that is fixing the valuation uncertainties of whatever. Because we have a base that this is the minimum that the company is going to make. This is going to make creditors feel more secure about their returns. And also the big problem with IBC that I see today is that low number of Section 10 applications. It's almost non-existent. But and wouldn't this also solve the Section 10 applications when I mean, the promoters are motivated to file an application? What are your views, sir? Like, do you think this can be an effective turnaround strategy?
No, so we have pre-packaged insolvency. It's been some time that it has been introduced in our country, and it is very similar to what you just described. That yes, there's a base resolution plan which is already there. We have also witnessed many pre-packaged insolvencies, and we have also witnessed how things happen there. So the difficulty that we faced when we were advising on pre-packaged insolvency to a group, it was mostly a real estate project. The difficulty that we faced was primarily from the public sector banks. They were not having a framework, and I think they still don't have a framework to allow the base resolution plan to be approved by the creditors without the same due diligence that they do for a full-fledged resolution plan. So the idea that there's a base resolution plan and the promoter wants to take the company into insolvency, it kind of failed when that didn't happen. So also there can be the promoter needs to be of course very active in a pre-packaged insolvency resolution process. So there again, his base resolution plan is something that can then be a start agending a process. So it's a very good process, but I think it's fine. It has found very little users for
Okay,
some
sir.
reason. And I think that has most to do with the taboo that insolvency brings to the entire process for any company. That's the major
So
difficulty,
I
in my
always end
understanding.
the podcast with one question. With everyone who comes on the podcast is way too more experienced than me, and I have a lot to learn from them. And I always want to I'm always interested in understanding what is the future prospects or what will be the future trends. So just wanted to understand, how do you see the insolvency framework, not IBC, but how do you see the insolvency framework evolving in India, and what would be the ideal insolvency framework for you, in according to you, sir?
I think insolvency framework in India, I believe, has already evolved much in the last 6 years that it's been here. It will further evolve in making it a more out of court process, to my understanding. So the reliance that we have on the tribunals right now, I think that will be further cut through various regulations, through various processes. And I also understand that the way we have seen, surfacey, it has taken about maybe 20 years for today, many financial institutions, banks, and BFCs to have their very strong internal frameworks and decision making matrices for surfacey. I think same will happen for insolvency. That banks will have a full-fledged team that which understands insolvency. So when we find today that many of the people who are taking care of insolvency practices within the financial institutions and the banks and
Hmm.
the NBFCs are not trained for IBC, and they are here on a post, they will look at the stressed assets, then after some time
Hmm.
it will
Hmm.
be time for them to move to some other department. So yes, that specialization in insolvency, I believe, has started happening. More and more, we find that creditors know their job. Creditors know what is expected from them, and I think so. So knowledge is power. In case professionals understand everything better, uh, bankers or the creditors understand everything better, things change. Today we see so many people who used to lend without seeing, they used to just give credit. They were into steel trading business. They used to give credit blindly to people. Today, so many people we have seen have lost money. That business has evolved. That business has changed. So the any law in the country has the power to change how we think, how we kind of do business. And I think insolvency has done that. Insolvency will further do that. This code is here to stay. This code is here to evolve. And I believe the next evolution that I am looking forward to is that it becomes stigma free, number one, and also it allows more and more companies who take an attempt at doing something coming clean through this process rather than drag
One
dead
of the thing
business
that you
all their life.
mentioned, I also heard the exact same thing. Another insolvency professional telling me that the members of the COC are not equipped enough to understand. They do not have the expertise over the IBC or the insolvency to take decisions. And even the members sitting in COC are at times the ones who do not call shots. They always have to go back to someone, and they then will have to take the decision, which just delays the process. So I do even this, even when I was working with an IPE, this is one thing that I have seen. Insolvency professional has to meet the deadlines, but the COC at times, because of this gap, the gap between the what the code requires and what they are coming with is different. And I hope that this issue gets resolved and would simplify the insolvency professional's job to a great extent.
Certainly hope so. Hope so. So, and I think we are already seeing some creditors, some banks taking that step, making the decision making faster. Others still need to cope up. So
So
yeah, that
thank you
that
for
really
your
makes a
time,
lot of difference.
and I hope you had a great experience in discussing on these effective turnaround strategies in an insolvency case. And I would like to once again thank you for your time, sir. This means a lot for me and the turnaround table. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Tejas. Thank you to you and everyone in your team at Turnaround Table. It was a pleasure to be part of this podcast, and I'm looking forward to many, such future listening to other podcasts, listening to other views that you have on your platform, and
Thank you
wish you
so
all
much,
the
sir. Thank
best
you.
with
Thank you
this
so much.
endeavor of yours. Thank you, Tejas.